The following program is sponsored by the Today's Home Remodeler television network.
Welcome to Today's Home Remodeler. I'm Stuart Keith, and on today's show, we're replacing the entry doors on this 15-year-old home. We'll begin with Ann Lake from Waudena Millwork, who will introduce our project and show some of the factors that led these homeowners to replace their doors. Next, we'll streamline the selection process as we look at the options and features of both fiberglass and steel entry doors. We'll then follow along the removal and installation process with Dusty Dvorak, who will explain why you get your best value by hiring a professional contractor who has the knowledge, experience, and necessary tools to get the job done right, regardless of what they uncover during the process. So we have a lot to cover today, and we'll get started right after these messages.
For more information on the Waudena entry doors featured on today's show, visit WaudenaMillwork.com, click Contact Us, and simply fill out the form. A remodeling consultant will be happy to answer any questions you might have, share ideas on your project, and even send product samples to help you through the selection process.
A front entry door is the gateway to a home and a chance to make a lasting impression. But unfortunately for many homeowners, oftentimes entry doors fail much sooner than they should. So let's begin with Ann Lake from Waudena Millwork, who will introduce our project and show how these entry doors were failing both aesthetically and functionally after only 15 years. Well, Ann, a beautiful fall morning. The leaves are falling. There's frost on the ground. It won't be long until it's wintertime. Now, this looks like a relatively young neighborhood. What brings us to this location?
It is a young neighborhood. This home was built in about 2002, so it makes it about 15 years old. The homeowners here have been experiencing some issues with their front door and a garage service door that we'll be taking a look at a little bit later.
Really? And so they're actually replacing doors that are only 15 years old?
They are. It seems odd, but it's actually more common than what one would think.
Really? And you know, when I think about a front entryway or any door that leads into a home, if it's on the front side of the house, that's a great opportunity to make a first impression and make a statement. But are there other factors besides aesthetics that go into replacing a door?
Absolutely. Curb appeal is very important, but also energy efficiency of the door and the functionality of that door.
Sure. Well, with frost on the ground, breath coming out, winter's nearby, so energy efficiency, I'm sure, is at the top of the mind. But I'm anxious to learn more about what led these homeowners to replace them. Can we start with the front entry?
Sure, absolutely. Let's take a look. So it's pretty apparent here why the homeowners are choosing to replace their front entry door. Take a look at one of the most obvious things, which is this jamb rotting out.
Oh my gosh, on a door that's only 15 years old, it's already rotting. Now I know this is a pretty common area of rot over time because the moisture wicks up through the molding and the jamb itself, but I wouldn't have expected this at 15 years.
Like I said before, not that uncommon. Some other key items that we're seeing that are affecting the energy efficiency is weather strip that doesn't meet the entire height of that jamb.
Look at that. There's a gap up there, sure, and it's cracking along here as I look as well.
Yeah, now keep in mind, any gap in weather strip is going to cause draft inside of that home, so energy loss.
Sure. I also, when I stand back and look, it appears to be faded.
It is. So you take a look at the door slab itself, faded as well as the glass frame. Notice how that frame is affected by UV rays, and it's actually yellowed.
Look at that. This probably all matched when it was new 15 years ago, and now it's fading already. And look at this. Is this caulk that's oozing out?
It is. Caulk's oozing out and catching all the dirt and the debris in the air.
It's also cracking along here?
It is. So that's another thing with extended UV exposure. In this case, again, only 15 years old, and we're seeing that glass frame cracked up.
Now, when you talk about energy efficiency, I want to step back and talk about that a bit. Is there really that big of opportunity to increase the energy efficiency with a modern door?
Absolutely. Today's doors are made very different than what they were in years past. So right from the product that you're putting into the home to the installation of that door unit can improve energy efficiency a great deal.
And there's been some advancements in the industry so that the slabs themselves are actually more energy efficient, along with the advancements in the weather stripping itself.
You bet.
Now, does security come into play when you're talking about replacing a front entry door?
It sure does. Security is very important for a lot of our families. This particular door has a deadbolt on it. The homeowners decided to replace this door with a deadbolt again. So if that door is not sealing properly, you're not getting that deadbolt throw to latch. And security is not only important at the front door, but very important at garage service and side doors as well, which we can go take a look at. So the homeowners elected to replace this door as well. We talked about security by the front door. Take a look at the garage service door. That sill is actually broken away from that door jamb.
Look at that. Now, that again speaks volumes to the lack of quality with this door originally, but probably some installation techniques as well.
Yeah, I'd say heavy on the quality of the original product itself. The other thing I see here is they've got a deadbolt, but again, that door is not sealing up good. One good shoulder to that door and you've got somebody in the garage that you don't want in there.
Again, security plays a huge role in all the doors, but especially on service doors and ones that are out of sight. But if I step back, this one faces the street. You have a chance to make an impression, and somebody drives by and sees beautiful brick siding. The vinyl siding isn't in too bad a shape, but the doors just really bring the aesthetic value of this house down, in my opinion. So these homeowners probably notice that as well, and they're really going to make a statement with the new doors.
Yes, absolutely. So like you said, the aesthetics of this door, you're going to want the same curb appeal. Even though it's not the front entrance and the focal point of this home, it's certainly important because it faces the road.
Well, I'm anxious to learn more about what the options are for replacing the doors, so maybe we can do that next.
Sure, sounds great.
And we'll do that when we continue with today's Home Remodeler.
For more information on the Waudena entry doors featured on today's show, visit WaudenaMillwork.com, click Contact Us, and simply fill out the form. A remodeling consultant will be happy to answer any questions you might have, share ideas on your project, and even send product samples to help you through the selection process.
In our last segment, we learned how aesthetics are only one of the reasons for replacing entry doors on a home, as we saw how the entry doors on this home had failed after only 15 years. Now let's continue with Ann Lake from Waudena Millwork, who helps streamline the entry door selection process and explains how their remodeling consultants can assist you with your project. Well, Ann, it looks like the guys took some time to set out a bunch of different doors here. And when you're talking about selecting new entry doors for your house, I mean, there are a ton of different choices. And I'd venture to say it can be daunting. I've gone through the process myself, and at times it seems overwhelming. But maybe we can simplify it here, make the choices a little easier. And it starts with selecting a slab.
Sure, when you're selecting a new door for your home, it really boils down to what you like as personal preference or what style you want to show in your home. This particular door is a fiberglass door, 3-panel. You can see the edges on this fiberglass door of the panels themselves a little more contemporary than some of the other doors.
Sure, now this is white, but I assume it can be painted to virtually any color you want?
Absolutely. So we've got a full offering and a color palette of paint colors that this door can be painted.
So again, you can customize it. If you want to make a statement, fair to say you can put virtually any color paint on here?
You can, inside and out.
Okay, good. Now, is this also a fiberglass door?
This is
Wow.
an oak fiberglass. Notice the definition in the panels.
Wow, a very deep embossment on here.
Another thing that you notice here is that this door is architecturally correct. So you've got stiles and rails giving you the authentic look of a real wood door.
Sure, and of course, when you talk about being architecturally correct, you're talking about the grain running this way, tying into this way. Whereas if it were a real wood door, that's exactly what it would look like. And, you know, the advancement in the industry and just how it looks, you'd be hard-pressed not to think this is natural wood.
Absolutely.
Well, and these doors look just beautiful on the outside, but what happened to these homeowners is their doors rotted out. So what are the advancements in the industry that make that less likely to happen with the new fiberglass doors on the market?
Sure, that's a great question and a concern for the homeowner replacing their door. So notice how our timber grain fiberglass doors have a structural components inside to keep that door from bowing and warping. It also has an Alaskan yellow cypress edge to give you the beauty and the look of a real wood door.
Boy, it is beautiful. And then I also noticed that it's very highly insulated. Everything is just full, no voids in there.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a great choice for a homeowner looking to replace a front entry door, that's for sure. Now, is this fiberglass door available in different species?
It is. Other than the oak that we're seeing here, we also offer the timber grain door in knotty alder, cherry, mahogany, and fir.
Think of the different colors you want, the different wood species out there. You're not going to be disappointed with your choices. That's what it seems like to me anyways.
Very true.
Okay, so what are we looking at here? This, again, is a very smooth finish.
So this is our 22 gauge smooth steel door in a 3-panel.
Now, similar to the white fiberglass door over there, this could be painted in many different colors to whatever suits your needs?
Absolutely. Full palette of colors available on this door.
Okay, and here, this looks like authentic wood here.
This is our stainable steel 22 gauge door. Notice the edge on this is a solid steel construction for added security. Also, it's architecturally correct with stiles and rails. Give you that look of real wood, yet the durability and longevity of steel. So these are hand stained by the artists at our facility. They get the detail into the panels and get a consistent stain look to one of many colors that are available.
I actually have stainable steel at my house. I just love it, and it's lasted the test of time, that's for sure. What's the biggest advantage to a steel door?
Biggest advantage to a steel door is having the structural durability of it, providing it has a steel edge.
So are steel doors extremely stable?
They are. They've proven the test of time, and they are a very stable product.
So if I go with a Taylor door or a rolled steel edge, I'm going to get a very stable product, but you're saying all steel doors are not created equal.
Correct. Some steel doors have a wood edge.
Okay, and so if I'm a homeowner entering the process, it seems to me I need to begin by selecting, do I want a steel door or do I want a fiberglass door? And if I opt for a steel door, I want to ask for a roll steel edge because that's going to give me my best durability, stability, longevity.
Yes, it will.
Now, once I make the choice between a fiberglass or a steel door, does that really lead me to different options? Because is it fair to say I'm going to have different options with a fiberglass or a steel?
Absolutely. Fiberglass or steel have a variety of different panel and glass offerings depending upon which path you choose to go. So narrowing it down whether you want fiberglass or steel helps eliminate those extra options that maybe aren't available on the door that you want.
So again, by following this process, it's going to make it much easier, allow me to select the options that I want. And when we talk about options, glass is one that can really personalize the door.
It sure can. So glass options are everything from small pieces of glass all the way up to full lights of glass to either let more daylight into a home or less daylight into the home, depending upon what the preference is for your situation.
Sure, and this is where it really gets fun when we're selecting an entry door. Is you get to go online, you get to see all the different choices out there and really customize it for your wants, needs, desires. If you want to make a statement, I'd recommend you take a look at all the different options out there when it comes to glass because there are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them, and like I said, it can be daunting, but there's a glass choice and a style for everybody's likes and needs.
You know, Ann, when I think about the process of selecting new entry doors, I also have to select new hardware. Now, is that something that I should expect to get along with my door, or do I have to go to a big box store and pick it out?
I wouldn't expect to get it, but I would certainly look to get new hardware with your new door. You're spending money on that new front entrance, a new statement for your home. Why not spend money on a good quality lock to go along with it?
Oh, that's awesome. So when I'm out there researching the doors, I should also be researching the lock sets and the different hardware?
You bet.
Okay, so I know we've tried to simplify the door selection process, but as a homeowner out there doing research online, it can still be overwhelming, and I'd love to turn somewhere for assistance. Is that possible?
Sure. Our website is a great place for assistance. It's very simple by requesting samples, literature, different information from specialists internally that can help you through that decision-making process.
So I've actually visited the website, and it asked me to fill out a form, a contact us form. That's no obligation. Just by simply filling that out, a remodeling consultant will contact me and help me specifically with my project?
You bet. No obligation, no strings attached. Help you with that decision.
And do you guys have a dealer network so I can actually touch and feel the products?
Sure. A lot of our dealers have great displays in their showrooms, and that does help in deciding what type of door you want in your home.
Well, and it's an exciting time in a homeowner's life when they get to replace the front entry doors because they really have a chance to make a statement. I appreciate you coming on and helping us get started with the process.
Thank you.
Stick around. We'll see the doors these homeowners selected and start the installation process next when we continue with today's Home Remodeler.
For more information on the Waudena entry doors featured on today's show, visit WaudenaMillwork.com. Click Contact Us and simply fill out the form. A remodeling consultant will be happy to answer any questions you might have, share ideas on your project, and even send product samples to help you through the selection process.
So far in today's show, we've learned how appearance isn't the only reason for replacing the front entry doors on a home, as we saw how the doors on this home had failed both aesthetically and functionally after just 15 years. Now let's catch up with Dusty Dvorak from Waudena Millwork to learn how you can get the replacement process started and see what front entry door our homeowners selected. Now, Dusty, before we get into the installation process for the new door our homeowner selected, let's step back and talk about the importance of measuring properly. If I'm a viewer out there and I want to get some pricing or a ballpark idea of what a new door is going to cost, is there any measuring that I should be doing?
Yeah, there's a pretty generic measurement you can do, and that's basically measuring the door slab. And what the door slab is, it's the moving part of your door, right? This is considered the door slab. So a simple measurement is just to get the overall width and height of the door slab. So here we have about 35 3/4. This is commonly referred to as a 3/0 door or a 3-foot door, even though it doesn't exactly measure 3 foot. It's a 3/0 door, and that's a pretty common measurement. And then on the height, what we want to get is basically the overall height of the slab, and this one measures about 6'7" or 79 inches. This is commonly considered a 6'8" high door, right? So that would give you a common size, and you'd be able to go into your local lumberyard and say, hey, you know, I've got a 3/0 6'8" door and I want it in this style. Then you can get a price.
Okay, so when I'm the homeowner measuring, it doesn't have to be exactly 36 inches by 80 inches to be a 3/0 6'8" door, but somewhere close there, I'll understand the terminology. Now, what about, I've heard the term rough opening. Is that something a homeowner needs to be worried about?
Well, this is where I get your professional contractor involved, because, you know, in this particular case, we've got a masonry opening. It's critical you get the right size here. So this is considered a brick-to-brick opening when you're going from outside of brick mold to outside of brick mold. Now this is where the contractor is going to come in and measure, and that's a very, very specific dimension here. And then on the inside, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to actually remove the casing and get outside of frame to outside of frame and the bottom of the sill to the top of the frame, because again, it's critical. We don't want to do any more work on the inside than we absolutely have to, right? We don't want to disturb and have to repaint and all that. So again, very critical measurements. That's where I get your professional involved and have him measure the door and order the door.
Okay, but at the end of the day, for pricing purposes, to give me a ballpark figure of what a new entry door is going to cost, I just simply measure the width and the height of the slab, which is the moving part of the door. And then once I have the door selected, of course, you recommend having a professional contractor do the installation, and they'll worry about the final measurements for the rough opening.
Absolutely. That is exactly the course I do.
Okay, well, let's get out of their way, see the demolition process and the installation process for the new door.
Great.
I tell you, Dusty, I got to hand it to Mike. He did a great job prepping this rough opening, and it was a little more difficult than I anticipated, that's for sure.
You know, and that's the thing. We saw the exterior rot, but you didn't realize that the subfloor was going to be rotted as well. So that had to be removed and replaced. And now it's been properly flashed, so we know we don't have to worry about that down the road. So like I say, you think you're in for a do-it-yourself or couple-hour project? Nah, you need to hire a professional, because this is the stuff you run into.
Sure, and experienced professionals, they can even make it look easy, and what Mike uncovered here was pretty scary if I'm the homeowner. And again, it was apparent on the outside that there was some rot. I had no idea, and they had no idea, that it was actually rotting out the subfloor there. And is that mainly because of construction practices back in the day, 15 years ago when they installed it? Or was it more of what Ann alluded to, an inferior product?
Yeah, it would be difficult to point the finger at the installer 15 years ago, because that was a pretty common practice. You know, run a couple beads of caulk and set the door into it, and we should be good. We got a little bit of an overhang, but what you see is that wind-driven rain is more of an issue than you could possibly imagine, and that's what created the rot. But now you can see flashing practices are much different, and this is really the proper way to do it.
Sure, and judging by the great job Mike did here prepping it, they're not going to have to worry about these issues again, at least from the installation standpoint. Now, what product did they select? Because after all, this door was rotting out. That's the last thing they want to happen with their new investment.
Well, let's talk about components a little bit. And like you and I have discussed, you know, this isn't rocket science. If you take all the best components, the best slab, put it together, you should end up with the best door. So let's talk about what the homeowner selected and why. The product they selected is actually a timber grain fiberglass door by Waudena Millwork. The slab itself is manufactured by Taylor Door in West Branch, Michigan. But what you have here is a knotty alder fiberglass slab.
Boy, is that beautiful. Look at the actual knots in there. It looks authentic. And what I remember Ann said, one of the big advantages to a fiberglass door is you get deeper embossing. And boy, does that ever look nice.
If you really want to closely replicate wood, this is the direction you want to go. And you can see knotty alder is brand new, and it really does make a statement. It's the calling card of the house, right? So curb appeal, man. You drive by and you see this door and it's like, wow, now that is impressive. But what you don't see is as important as what you do see. On the inside of that fiberglass slab, we have a 4-inch LSL. And remember, we talked about that engineered wood? Sure. What that does is it keeps that slab straight. It keeps it from thermal bowing and warping. And then it's capped with an Alaskan yellow cypress. And you remember what we said about Alaskan yellow cypress?
Sure. It's very rot resistant. As a matter of fact, it's probably second to none in nature.
Absolutely. And then that door also has adjustable hinge locations on it. So we can move this door slab up and down by 3/4 of an inch and in and out by 1/4 of an inch. And the reason that's important, Stuart, if we get an opening that's not quite plumb and we have to cant that door in a little bit, we can adjust it with these adjustable hinge locations.
Do you find that contractors out there really like the foresight of your company to include adjustable hinges on there and some of the other components that make up this door to make it easier for installation?
Absolutely. It's the only adjustable fiberglass door in the United States, and we actually had the first to come out with this. And again, the reason is because when we perform service across the United States, with this adjustability, we can adjust that slab tight to the weather seals and walk away and everybody's satisfied in the end.
Sure, and at the end of the day, you want your product to be installed properly and securely so that they never have an issue with it down the road. Another thing that caught my eye, and I really like to see it, is how thoroughly insulated this door appears to be.
Yeah, it's an environmentally friendly shot polyurethane core, R factor of 13, so it has great weather resistance.
And so are the homeowners going to notice a big difference in their energy efficiency?
They definitely should.
Now, you know, another area that we noticed was really rotted out was the molding. What do you guys do to address that problem?
This homeowner chose an 092 extruded aluminum cover on his wood frame, and it looks like wood, but it's an aluminum. We have 12 standard colors, and we also can custom color. If you truly want maintenance-free, this is what you need to do. And anything that's exposed to the element, it should be aluminum cladded, right? You know, we don't paint windows anymore. We try not to paint trim. You don't want to paint your frame either. So this is coated with a electrostatically applied powder coat. It's all about permanence. So do you want a permanent door in that opening? Do you want something that's going to last the remainder of the lifetime of the home, or do you want to replace it in 15 years, which we did here, right? Another component that's going to benefit the contractor and the homeowner is the new articulating sill made by Endura. We're only as good as our sill, right? This is where everything starts. This is brand new. It's called the Z-Series articulating sill. And what it is, it's a riser that is actually spring-loaded that meets the bottom of the door.
Look at that. Oh, is that ever a nice tight seal?
So no more manual adjustment here. Remember on the old sill, we had big Phillips head screws in there and you had to adjust it with a screwdriver. Here you don't have to worry about it. And remember, we're shipping our doors nationwide, so we want to make sure they get there. And even if they miss this step, they don't have to worry about it now because it's automatically going to adjust to the bottom of the door.
Oh, look at that. And again, for energy efficiency and for proper installation, I mean, a benefit to the contractor and a benefit to the homeowner that they're not going to have any drafts to worry about.
Absolutely, second to none.
Well, these are great options that as a homeowner, and I'm doing my research, I should be considering talking to my remodeling consultant about through your website. Ask about the moldings, the frames, the articulating threshold. I mean, all things that'll end up in a better end result.
Absolutely. You know, components are key. Don't just take a quick glance and say that's a beautiful door. Start asking about the components being used and the importance of each component. You know, an educated consumer is going to be much happier with the end result.
Stay tuned. We'll walk through the professional installation process and see the beautiful end result next when we continue with today's Home Remodeler.
For more information on the Waudena entry doors featured on today's show, visit WaudenaMillwork.com, click Contact Us, and simply fill out the form. A remodeling consultant will be happy to answer any questions you might have, share ideas on your project, and even send product samples to help you through the selection process.
If you're throughout today's show, we've been discussing why to replace entry doors on a home. From obvious aesthetic reasons to functional failures, we've shown how you can select an entry door that will look great and last a lot longer than the entry doors on this home that failed after only 15 years of service. Now let's finish up with Dusty Dvorak from Waudena Millwork, who shows us why these homeowners made the right choice in the new front entry door and professional contractor they selected. Oh, Dusty, the beautiful end result. What an improvement from what was here before.
You know, it's the focal point of the house. Somebody now drives by, the neighbors looking, it's like, wow, what a difference this makes in the appearance of the front entryway.
And as I recall from earlier, this is a timber grain fiberglass door.
You know, it replicates wood, and that's really what they wanted. They wanted a wood-looking front door, and obviously we've accomplished that with the timber grain Naughty Alder door by Taylor.
Okay, Mike made it look easy. Professional contractor, they usually do. They have all the right tools, the know-how, the experience to do it right. But let's step back and take us through what was involved in that process.
Well, first of all, you notice that when we took out the old door, it had a slight rot at the bottom of the jamb. Once we took it out, we had subfloor rot, so I had to remove the old subfloor, replace that, then go ahead and flash it properly, make sure the opening is clean. And then we went ahead and put the new frame in, squared it up, and made it as plumb as we possibly could. The wall wasn't perfectly plumb, and you notice that because we had to use the adjustable hinge a little bit to cant the door in a little bit to get it to seal properly.
And that was a great selling point to the contractor, but the consumer should take note as well because it does end up in a perfect end result.
Well, and after the fact, if the house settled a little bit and you had to go back and adjust, you can always do that. But again, it helped in this installation case. So it was kind of nice to have a little bit of complication because, again, when we suggest a professional installer, there's a reason for that and there's a process that needs to be followed really to get the results you want long-term for your door.
Boy, another thing that I like is the handset that they got. And this one, talking to the homeowner, actually came with the door itself. So the remodeling consultant through your company actually helped them in the selection of the door, the accessories, including the glass, but also the hardware.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, you don't order a car without the lock set on it, and you don't order a car primed. You order it finished, right?
Sure.
So why should your door be any different?
Sure, I never thought of it that way, but that's a great thing to note if you're a homeowner going through this process. Now, down below, here's that threshold that they're never going to have to worry about as the house moves a little bit through time, right? It's going to keep a good tight seal because it's spring-loaded.
Yep, that's the Endura articulating T-cap on there. The number one service call in our business is because the riser on the sill is never properly adjusted. Typically, days of old, you had to manually adjust that. Here, we don't have to worry about that because it's spring-loaded. It automatically adjusts to meet the bottom of the door and keep the cold air out. Again, the doors are shipped nationwide, so we want to make sure when they go out there that nobody has to do the manual adjustments and stuff. It's just one more foolproof thing to note on the door.
Sure, and you know, again, using a professional contractor, this is a good, solid installation. The reveals were awesome around the edges. I know the homeowners are going to be just elated. They got to keep their original casing, and it looks just beautiful, like this door was meant to be here.
Exactly. That's the results we were after.
And you know, that's what you can expect with a professional contractor. But what happens if I want to go through the process, select new doors for my house, but I don't know a contractor? I mean, is there any way to get assistance with that?
We've got a nationwide network of dealers, and all you have to do is go to our website, type in your zip code, and you'll be able to find the dealer closest to you. And they have a network of contractors that they deal with, so they can recommend that professional installer.
So nationwide, I can get the assistance that I need, and it all starts with me visiting your website, filling out a little bit of information on the form about my project, and for no obligation, your remodeling consultants will assist me through the process.
It's really that easy.
Well, Dusty, it's been enlightening. Great products lead to great end results. I appreciate you coming on and showing us this example.
Thanks, Stuart.
For more information on the Waudena entry doors featured on today's show, visit WaudenaMillwork.com, click Contact Us, and simply fill out the form. A remodeling consultant will be happy to answer any questions you might have, share ideas on your project, and even send product samples to help you through the selection process.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Today's Home Remodeler television network.